new Dreamcatcher release. This, I'm not sure. It looks like maybe a different type of concept, you know what I mean? Outfit of the day. At first I was like, I didn't know what it stood for, you know? But no, it's outfit of the day, OOTD. Of course, everyone loves those abbreviations for things. And it looks like it might be a little bit different, you know? Even from just this opening shot, it seems very like realistic, grounded, you know what I mean? It's not like some sort of parallel universe and like mouse-headed soldiers with laser machine gun rifles or whatever. Like it's but you know, it's Dreamcatcher, so it's bound to be good, right? And look at this little cat right here. I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? The little X-ray cat thing. That's very familiar. Well, okay. So let's just check this out and see what Dreamcatcher is doing with outfit of the day.
It's my fashion, shut up, no more questions. Beat your spotlight, unforgettable. I'm the future, so incredible. 남겨줄게 더 큰 전율을, like a time lapse. Bet you remember me. It's a miracle, complicated. It's a miracle, revolution. 나의 안목이 gonna catch your attention. The way to you know. Shut up, no more questions. OOTD, this my fashion. Ready? Action. I'm tired of feeling coming right. Look at the champagne, look at my necklace, wearing my black dress. Cruising my belly, cash in the backseat. We call it so sweet, so sweet. Autumn, autumn, autumn.
Okay.
So sweet, so sweet. Autumn, autumn, autumn. Got 'em away. Now your red carpet, I'm not love. 이제 숨길래 looking for my life. Driving on a hot wave, drunken every day. But do you feel like a monster? 매일 불꽃이 터져 so high. I'm Venus, Memphis, call me a goddess. Touching mountain, mountain. I'm only doing better. Shall we start this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. OOTD, this my fashion. Shut up, no more questions. OOTD, this my fashion. Ready? Action. I'm so out of feeling coming right. Champagne, look at my necklace, wearing my black dress. Cruising my rolling, kissing the backseat. We call it so sweet, so sweet. Yeah! Celebrate 우리의 축제. Elevate 보다도 높게. Visualize 나를 더 표현해. Hypnotize 좀 어지럽게. Popping the champagne, look at my necklace, wearing my black dress. Cruising me rolling, catching the backseat. I'm flawless, I'm flawless, I'm so gorgeous. Yogi Bravo, I'm spotless, I'm spotless, I'm so priceless. On FGD, I'm flawless, I'm flawless, I'm so gorgeous. Yogi Bravo, I'm spotless, I'm spotless, I'm so priceless, I'm so gorgeous.
Ah, there it was. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Wait, would you like to join the journey? Is that what it said? Okay. Okay. So that was the parallel universe, the sort of meta universe type of thing. You know, like I knew it was going to be in there somewhere, but it did have this more like fourth wall messing with type of feel to it. You know, when they sort of truck out and then like it's the actual music video shoot. And when it started, it was like, you know, so that office is one of the like promotional offices, you know what I mean? Like they're putting together the promo materials, editing the videos, things like that. And so, you know, to bring up the Dreamcatcher folder. And so it's kind of like, okay, accessing that is, you know, opening that portal into the whole like Dreamcatcher world kind of. And then they stayed with it, you know what I mean? And showing that sort of behind the scenes type of frame on things until the end here, right? Until the end where they kind of start messing with the fourth wall again. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, it's the camera drops, but it's as if it was like some robots, or you know what I mean, like they mess with somebody's like and then he like, fell. And so it's interesting. They kind of like they kind of tricked you a little bit, like it's a bamboozle, right? Like you think like, oh okay, but they're kind of feeling themselves a little bit in this one. And it's okay, I mean, they're not wrong, you know what I mean? But it's a very cool, like funky sort of you know, like hip hop, but kind of also a little bit of like electronic rock type of, like it reminds me of some of the stuff that was coming out like mid to late 90s. This guitar sound with like some fuzzy distortion and maybe like a digital octave on it or something like that, you know, because you can, the beginning, like the attack of that guitar sound is very electric guitar. You got the distortion, but the, you know, the end of the sounds, right? Like what the end of each sort of pitch starts to take on that digital kind of bit crushed feel. So it seemed to me like a combination of the distortion and then maybe some sort of like digital octave on there. There's like it's very it's got a lot of edge, like everything is engineered with a lot of this like hard edge on it. This cool descending line sort of motive, like it's got this, I don't know, this hard like grittiness to it, you know what I mean? Like it's very crunchy, but it's very cool. It's actually got kind of a mellow tempo to it, you know. But it's an interesting direction. It's definitely also pulling more towards like this sort of hip hop type of rhythm as far as the vocal is going. Like the delivery on this is much more, you know, kind of getting towards, I guess, let's just say that side of things, right? But keeping a lot of this hard, edgy, you know, like the rough edges of things. Like it's super crunchy, the whole mix. But it's an interesting idea. I didn't know, like I thought, you know, outfit of the day and then some of the visuals and stuff. I was kind of thinking like, well, maybe this is a little bit more like a conventional sort of K-pop sound or song. And it definitely has some of that in there, but they managed to keep a lot of that bristly, like, you know, sort of feel to it. And it's fun. It's interesting. It's a different side. I kind of dig the way that they're messing with you a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's a fun concept too. It is like, it seems like, oh, okay, this is a very mundane setting, and then you start to see the video, and it's like they're showing you all the editing stuff. What they're kind of alluding to here is that the the industry creates this kind of image, and it does this with every video, right? Because you see these incredible shots, and it's not a bad thing. Like it's really impressive work when you see like any video, right? Like I just watched Young Posse reacting to their macaroni cheese video, and they're discussing it, and they're saying like, when we did all this, we were just in like a green screen room, you know, like, so we're just in there doing like the choreo and doing some different parts, but the room's just green and we're like in it. And then later on in the editing and the post, production stuff, they're putting all of these backgrounds in and doing all the balance and motion and making the images look really cool and really full of color. So what they're doing in this video here is they're kind of like, I guess in a way you could say exposing it, or maybe like addressing it, you know what I mean? And they're saying that that's what, they're showing you that's what goes on. It's like, we're actually like, there's this real side, this like real people side. And then what they do is they take that and they create this, visual sort of reality around it that's a little bit removed from the real reality. But then in the end, when they pull the last fourth wall break there, if it's totally like reverts on itself, and you're like, but wait a minute. That's, you know what I mean? Because then the camera like drops, and then they sort of glitch out, and then it's like, do you want to join the journey? Like, so it's like, well, wait a minute, no, we're a couple of levels, deep here. It's like Inception kind of, right? Like they're making you think, like, because they're addressing it that way, but then all of a sudden they back out, and it's like, well, actually, no, this is all like, some sort of digital parallel universe or something. So it's fun. It kind of like goes in and out and has a lot of fun with these different aesthetic layers and the way all this works together. But let's see. So, even the sound design here, keyboard, I think you hear like a fan or something, you know what I mean? And you hear like the sounds of this office, environment and stuff. So it's giving you this sentience, this tactile sort of awareness of things by using the diegetic sound here. Yeah, it sounds super bit crushed. Like you can barely hear, because there's a lot of compression on it, and there's compression used like even in the main mix. But it does, it gradually lifts, but it's sort of strategically used, I guess you could say. But we have like, the visuals change up, right? It was like a static overhead shot. Now we have these close-ups where it's framed within the sort of workflow space, right? And we're seeing these different bits of media, right? And as that happens, this compressed sort of theme starts to come in, right? The sort of main sort of hooky theme of the track. Right. See, even that mouse shot was a little bit more dramatic, right? Because from the overhead shot, it doesn't look that dynamic, right? You know what I mean? It's just like it'd be somebody just like moving the mouse and then clicking. But the way they framed that shot with like a close up, and then you see the mouse moving closer to like, and it's fast, and they give you that like the sound. So it's making this much more dramatic, much more full of like energy, and changing the perspective on it too. That's a key element of it. That percussion sound too, like this drum fill in the beginning, it's so tinny and like almost wiry, like it's a super tight percussion sound with a lot of ring to it, like all of these different drums. It's a very, very specific type of kit sound, right? But it's cool, and it sets a very particular and kind of peculiar like color tone, right? And even the visual there, like they're showing you this image editing software, and a color palette with red and different logos and designs and stuff. And then this percussion sound in particular is very, very specific, and it's setting a tone, definitely. Like it's a very, very deliberate, intentional thing. It's interesting because the percussion is now pretty straightforward. I mean, you can like, and you see all the space that's there too, right? Like the tempo is pretty mellow, actually. It's just that there's so much crunchy edge around everything, right? So that creates some tension that is maybe giving you a sense of urgency, but the tempo is actually very, very mellow and sort of reserved, right? Now, you have a strong accent on the downbeat on the 1. You've got the kick. There's another light percussion hit, and then there's the guitar, right? That dan, like there's a crunchy double stop there, but it doesn't really come back until the 4. So we get a strong emphasis on 1 and 4. Of course, you get an accent on the 2, but it's so much more narrow, right? Because it's a very light hit, and there's not like bass or rhythm guitar or anything else going on underneath it. So there's like an emphasis on space here. And the way this works is that you're grouping a real strong sort of rhythmic emphasis on 1 and 4. So the middle of your measures feels a little bit more like spacious, right? And of course, they got some vocal rhythms and melodies going over this, but everything about it is real, like intentionally inverted. You know what I mean? It's because you wouldn't expect it to come there. First of all, you're not expecting the percussive sound in the beginning, setting that very particular tone, and then actually the way that these the phrases are structured, once the verse section starts, it's like they're trying to trick you, like with pretty much every aspect of this. So a lot of rhythmic changes and shifts and everything. Like you have the going into the chorus section. That first measure, the mix is either sticking to downbeats or with the occasional eighth note, the occasional upbeat. But the second half of it, especially in that guitar riff that's going on, that's when the 16th note rhythm starts to that subdivision starts to be used. And of course, it's a much fuller sound. Like you have basically, if you want to call it, an entire band arrangement that's going on here, where you have like the drums, the guitars, the bass, and then also the vocals, and all of these little digital effects on, well, not little, but I mean, you know, the production treatment on it to use these digital type of effects on things. And it is really interesting. Like, man, you know, you wouldn't use an effect. I mean, they're called effects because like you want to elicit some type of, you know, practical like effect on something, right? But there's a very deliberate incorporation of that compression, that digital octave, the distortion on everything. You know, when you begin with the strong distortion on an attack, and then the sort of sustain on it has all of this digital octave and super blocky type of sound to it, you're trying to create a contrast within that line, within that sort of rhythm line that you have going there. And you know, it's it's to show you like two sides of it, because otherwise you wouldn't do it. You would just have it all sound the same. Like, you know what I mean? It would be a balance between both the distortion and the digital octave that's on there. But this is intentionally trying to create contrast on the vertical sort of levels of the harmony, but also like horizontally as the lines go on. If they can do it within a beat, they'll do it within a beat. But if they can do it within the measure, they'll do it within the measure. Then they'll do it within the phrase groupings also, the first and second half of your phrase groupings. It's really interesting. Even this, look at this visual, right? It's contrast between the darker reds, the sort of off-white pinkish hue color, and then the outfit itself has nothing to do with red or pink, right? Like it's a completely different color. So all of this is really about contrast.
OOTD, this my fashion. Shut up, no more questions. OOTD, this my fashion. Ready? Action. Don't you wanna feel it coming right? Look at the champagne, look at my necklace, I'm wearing my black dress. Cruising my belly, cash in the backstage. We call you so sweet, so sweet.
Interesting. So really strong pre-chorus section. Was that pre-chorus? I think I got this right. Yeah, that was like your post-chorus section. But you see, it brings back that descending line theme, right? Boom, dan, da, da, din, dan, din, dan, and a really, it's well crafted, the sound around that, right? Because it's digital, but also like it's a very, very particular effects treatment that's on there. It'd be really cool to figure out what that is, like what those plugins are, because it's a very, very, like, also the EQing around the sound itself, like the actual shaping of it. It's really, really like meticulous work on crafting that sound. And then the compression on the percussion changes, like it gets super splashy towards the end there, like this very dramatic sort of electronic sound that comes in on things. A shift from that earlier sort of tinny, tight, wiry percussive sound that was that intro drum fill. Man, I like they keep changing things up on this. Like you from one section to another, and then even within a section, it's like we'll start off with this one sound, but by the time we get to the end, it's going to be completely different. It's very, like, not only do you have to be very like knowledgeable and competent with the sound production, but it's very gutsy. Like it's really bold. Diegetic sound again, like they're using the sound of this actual space. You can hear the sound of like her walking on this floor, and then the hands, and like, and you can hear some background noise, like some buzzy, like the sound of the crew, the production crew working and everything. It's really like we keep getting pulled in, and then sort of dropped out and then pulled back in again.
Okay.
Slate.
Red carpet, I'm not level. It's an awesome looking for my life. Driving on hot way, drunk and everything. But do you feel like a monster?
Dami. She has again a pretty mellow groove here. You know what I mean? Even her delivery on it is kind of like, she's being a little bit. It's playful. It's a little bit like holding back just a little bit, like almost like a sotto voce kind of thing, but she's rapping, and it came on pretty strong too. Like it was like, oh, I mean, I didn't even catch the lyrics in the first time around, but just her expression, like just her energy and everything. It's like, oh man, like she's really in this mood, you know what I mean? Like it's very much a mood But it's cool, man. It's cool. She's gonna be my Dreamcatcher bias, right? Is Dami. I mean that's just the way that happens. But very, very interesting. I don't think I've ever heard her like this. I mean, she, in other songs, there's like kind of a quicker tempo. So when she starts to get like into the rhythms and into the flows, and they're very, very like consistent, right? And she's got a lot of body in the. She has sort of like a lower register that she likes to sit in when she raps. But it's so consistent. Like all of her syllables and everything, they're very, very full. And this is like, it's so deliberately reserved on this, but she's also like, it got this biting, edgy sort of feel to it. Like it's very, very, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot. Those shots with like the blur filter on it, those are interesting.
OOTD, this my fashion. Shut up, no more questions.
See, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? And then you have that descending theme that's going on that gets a little bit more, like there's some 16th note groupings in there, a sort of a more straightforward 8th note rhythm going over the top in the vocal, and then a little bit more like a intricate 16th note patterns going on in that main theme. But those shots where it was like, let me see, yeah, like, see the way the blur on this, I think that this is supposed to be kind of like the POV of the the camera guy or whoever's looking at the end, right? Because it's as if it's working to try and focus on the person. You know what I'm saying? These are like the most interesting shots. All the other ones, they're cool. Like, they're very high def and glossy and have tons of effects. But this is so deliberate that it's trying to say something very specific with these shots. They just stand out like crazy.
OOTD, this my fashion. Shut up, no more questions. OOTD, this my fashion.
4 on the floor. She has such great dynamics. All those ad libs and the way she kicks off that entire section there, she's got wonderful dynamics. Some of these high notes that she's hitting, these vocal licks she's pulling off, and it's really dramatic, right? Because like most of the other vocal deliveries have that deliberately reserved type of feel to them. So when she like lets go and just rips it, you know what I mean? Like the dynamics on that are super dramatic, but they're really, really gorgeous too. They're breaking the beat like this a totally bit crush sound. It's so crunchy and chunky here, man. Like it's got such grit to it. And we got some harmonized vocals here, and really, really interesting, production on the vocals. Let me go. Did you see that shot too, right? In the car? Like, okay, so this guy's, where was it? Again, that blur, right? See how it's got like this blur around the peripheral, but it's like coming into focus in the center. This is a very specific POV. And I guess that this is supposed to be us. I'm not sure. But like this is used to convey a very specific idea or message, right?
Popping the champagne, look at my necklace, wearing my black dress. Cruising me rolly, catch you the backseat.
Did you catch that glitch sound too? Like as it right before it drops the beat, right? It's like you hear this like this little glitchy chirp. It's fun. They're just having fun. They're just like distorting everything and making everything all chunky and wonky and then, you know, as if it's strained to the point where it breaks, right? Like game breaking kind of, you know. So there's a glitch sound to kind of like reinforce the idea.
I'm flawless, I'm so gorgeous. You're I'm spotless, I'm spotless, I'm so priceless. On FGG, I'm flawless, I'm flawless, I'm so gorgeous. You're I'm spotless, I'm spotless, I'm so priceless, I'm so gorgeous.
See the blur again. Wait, dang it, missed it. Would you like to join the journey? Enter. Okay, so I'm sure somebody's gonna let me know what's going on as far as like the lore, you know. Somebody will know. I know somebody's gonna know for sure, and we'll be able to explain. But you know, there is like it's like they're deconstructing the like overall K-pop, you know, industry or a perspective, right? Even because this sort of empowerment concept, this you know, the stuff that they're saying, the reference, these mythopoetic references to, you know, figures from mythologies and historical references and the sort of, you know, the flawless, perfect image, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's layers to it, right? Because yes, there is like that empowerment thing, but it feels to me like they're also kind of taking a couple of shots at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, as if to say, don't lose sight of reality. Like, yes, the empowerment concept is a cool thing. Yes, you know, you should have that confidence, you know, but don't let it go to your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're kind of jabbing at it a little bit, you know, and breaking it down. Even the you know, the ending sequence, the sort of, you know, perspective, that blurred perspective, that weird sort of fisheye perspective, belonging to, I don't know, the director, the producer, the fan, you know what I mean? It's kind of like goes across all of that, all of these different points of view, and they like kind of mess with it, right? They sort of like disable it in a way, so it falls out of perspective, right? And then you're looking up, and then that very idealized appearance glitches out, and like you know, it's like it ends, right? Like the projector sort of turns off or something, and they're not there anymore. They're not in that space. And then back to the office environment, and even they glitch out, and then they're not there anymore. So they're really deconstructing the entire like sort of representation principle, you know what I mean? Like the entire sort of thing there. But yeah, everything about it is like, even in the audio, man, like everything about it is a bit subversive and seeks to intent, like it creates this contrast very strong contrast and things, and then starts to kind of break it all down and go from instrument sounds that are very, very particular, go through this digital effects process, right? Because there's no other reason to do it. I mean, yeah, if you're going for a certain expression, for sure, but it's so tightly connected to the concept here. They're intentionally like kind of running everything through the ringer, the production ringer, to try and show you, look, this is the way things start, and then this is the way that they end up when they have the production treatment. And then the visual part is sort of reinforcing that idea. But it's a very interesting sound, right? It's got a real laid back groove to it, but so much like of that edge, that gritty, crunchy edge to it. All the tension comes from there, right? Like most of this is definitely has a minor quality to it, so there's some dissonance and some tension that gets generated through there. But everything on top of it, all the production, all of those digitized effects, bit crushing and digital octaves and all of this, they're all dialed into a very stringent level that makes it, to give it all of this additional edge and stuff. And then sort of incorporating that into this deconstruction of the empowerment concept a little bit. It's and everything about it is like very bold, even to take a sort of production approach like this, right? Like actually using these effects in that way it's a very bold decision. And it's also a very bold thing to do if you're going to attempt to deconstruct the empowerment concept as well. And it works perfectly with the Dreamcatcher sort of like lore, right? Like their own sort of mythology and everything. Like it makes sense. It doesn't contradict that at all. So it's an interesting take, man, for sure. Like, I wasn't sure if this was going to be like a super hype, like headbangy type of a thing, or, something a little bit more. I wasn't wrong, because it is more attuned to like the K-pop standard, if you will, that quote unquote standard formula, right? But they're coming at it from that deconstructive angle and sort of taking a shot at it, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Very interesting. Versus villain, right? That's the enter. Okay. Versus villain. Huh. This is interesting. So I'm sure somebody can explain it to me, please. If because I think I'm right with what's been expressed here, right? And considering some of the different elements of the music and the visual and everything. And I can tell this does tie in some way to, their established sort of group lore. But I know somebody will let me know for certain, like in the comments, which is great. That's the best part. Like that's the part I love, because you guys know so much. Like you guys know so much about it, and I'm always amazed, because I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you guys know just everything that's going on with it. So please let me know, because I think I'm right. I think I picked up on this like pretty closely. But Dreamcatcher outfit of the day. Yeah, see, because they did, like they totally had me going and thinking, because outfit of the day, like who does that, right? Like that's one of those social media trends, right? Like that's one of those hashtaggy type of things. So I was like, okay, is this perhaps a return to that sort of, that mainstream sort of industry type of approach, or that type of take? And It was, but not in the way that I was thinking, right? So it's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. They did a good job on this one. It's man, it's really interesting. Really interesting stuff. Bold move, bold sounds, bold concepts. But that's very Dreamcatcher, you know? So that was cool, man. Outfit of the day. Let's go.